Hey guys, tonight we're drifting way back to the warm, fragrant banks of the Nile, under a moon that glows like a peeled grape. You're not in your bed anymore. You're reclining on silk cushions beside a royal banquet in ancient Egypt. Golden oil lamps flicker along the polished walls, casting shadows that dance like they know secrets. And in front of you, a giant platter of lettuce, lettuce, but not just any lettuce. This was the Beyoncé of vegetables in 1400 BCE. You're about to find out why this unassuming leafy green was so beloved, so symbolic, and spoiler alert, so spicy, it could make an entire dinner party blush. Honestly, if you had to live back then without air conditioning, toothpaste, or a basic concept of privacy, you'd better hope they let you sit near the lettuce platter. Otherwise, you wouldn't make it a week. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, drop a comment telling me where and when you're listening. Bonus points if you're in a lettuce growing climate. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You take slow steps across a corridor filled with the soft sound of harps and the warm scent of lotus oil. Servants have powdered the walkway with crushed flowers, and the marble under your feet is cool from being soaked with Nile water earlier that day. You're walking into a royal feast and somehow, it smells like herbs, heat, and greens. Before you, a royal banquet is about to begin. You spot plates of grilled river fish seasoned with coriander, fresh baked flatbreads from the morning sun ovens, and spiral arranged towers of lettuce, carved like temple statues, not as a side dish, not even as a salad starter. This was the main event, the star of the Nile table. Pharaoh himself name drops lettuce in his opening toast like it's a sacred scroll. A long-bearded man leans in beside you and whispers, "Without lettuce, how could anyone believe in fertility?" You nod politely, although your brain is rebooting. Where you come from, lettuce is just that limp thing forgotten under a soggy burger bun. But here, it's life, it's desire, it's divine. You glance toward the pharaoh. He's draped in opulent cloth, his crown glinting with gold, and yep, those are lettuce leaves carved into the sides. A royal salad hat, basically. And it's not a joke. Lettuce appears in murals, tombs, temple walls, and pottery across centuries. It's not food, it's a cultural flex. Drums thrum softly, and a line of servants enters with arms raised, balancing bronze trays. On each lies a tall, glistening variety of wild lettuce, long, straight, almost proud looking. Someone next to you whispers, "That's Lactuca cereola, sacred lettuce of the gods." A noble chews a leaf and exhales like he's just had a shot of espresso. Another lady fans herself. You try not to giggle. This is a G-rated dinner party, but the lettuce here is behaving like it's not. The ancient Egyptians believed lettuce was sacred to Min, the god of fertility. Yes, that kind of fertility. And yes, lettuce produces a white sap when broken. And yes, it grows upright. And no, you can't unsee that now. But here's what makes your jaw tighten. It wasn't just eaten. It was offered, sacrificed, even to gods in rituals, especially men, his statues. Let's just say if you spot one in a museum, you'll instantly know it's him. And usually, there's a lettuce motif nearby. You start noticing patterns. Who eats lettuce first? Who eats a lot? Who avoids it entirely? This isn't just a snack, it's a social signal. Kind of like someone at a modern dinner party announcing they do CrossFit. Or that they're a minimalist but wearing a $3,000 watch. You sip your barley beer, trying to stay neutral. But a noblewoman leans in and murmurs, "They say Pharaoh tests the general's loyalty by how much lettuce he dares to eat." Historians are still debating that, you reply, keeping your tone breezy, though your mind flashes to an imaginary performance review. Commander 5 leaves Lord B. 3.5, hesitant chewing. Advisor C. said he was allergic. The hall erupts with laughter. Someone across the table launches into a myth about a poor harvest caused by offering lettuce on the wrong day. Another swears lettuce can soothe nightmares, kind of like an ancient, crunchy chamomile tea. As for you, you're still wondering how something so bland could cause this much drama for 3,000 years. The harp music rises again. A gentle breeze from a palm leaf and brushes your shoulders. Even with all the strange conversation swirling around you, your hand reaches out, breaks off a small piece, and brings it to your lips. You chew slowly. It's bitter, but bold like a question mark from the past you're not sure you can answer. You don't know if you just ate a snack or a divine contract. You wipe your fingers on a linen cloth embroidered with symbols, some of them familiar, others just wriggling lines like a snake trying to spell. The banquet is slowing down, some guests are leaning back, full and flushed, others are still nibbling carefully, like each bite is a riddle. You feel the warm weight of the evening settle on your shoulders, and the scent of crushed herbs lingers sweetly in the air. And just as you think the party's over, the pharaoh raises a hand. A hush falls across the banquet hall. What happens next is not another course, it's a ritual. A priest steps forward, holding a polished tray. And on it, of course, lettuce. But this one isn't meant for eating. It's wrapped in blue lotus petals, dusted in gold powder. You can't help but think, if Whole Foods sold this, it would cost more than rent. The priest chants softly. You don't catch every word, but it has that slow, echoing rhythm that makes the back of your neck tingle. He walks in a circle, offering the lettuce to each of the four cardinal directions, then lays it down on a stone pedestal behind the pharaoh. The crowd exhales. Like this was the real moment everyone had been waiting for. You glance sideways and someone explains, that's for men. Without him, crops fail, families fall apart, dreams turn to dust. You nod slowly. So it's not just lettuce, it's a contract. A kind of ancient insurance policy. Lettuce as your co-signer. And here's the kicker, man, god of fertility, wasn't just worshipped during harvests or weddings. He was involved in everything. Agriculture, virility, dreams, even bureaucratic promotion ceremonies. It's like he had his godly fingers in every pie. Or in this case, every head of lettuce. You hear a murmur ripple through the nobles. A minor priest once claimed that minced temple lettuce had healing properties, could fix nightmares, stop nosebleeds, and even predict whether your goat would give birth to twins. This, naturally, led to people stealing it from the shrine at night and selling it at a markup in alleyways. Lettuce scalpers, imagine that. Some historians still argue whether that lettuce was a specific strain, or whether the effects were just psychological, but you suspect that belief itself was half the magic. You stand up to stretch and suddenly, you're somewhere else. Still Egypt, still night, but this time you're outdoors, at a smaller village ceremony. The air smells different, earthier, with the damp aroma of irrigation canals and clay. You can hear frogs chirping and the whisper of sugarcane in the breeze. An elder woman approaches. She smiles, revealing a single golden tooth, and hands you a bundle wrapped in linen. 3 stalks of lettuce tied with a red cord. You're expected to place it under someone's bed as a kind of wish, for health, for fertility, for a baby, maybe, or a good harvest, or that your neighbor's rooster finally shuts up before dawn. You wake, or maybe you never truly slept, in a boat gliding silently down the Nile. The water laps softly against the hull, a rhythm older than any lullaby, and you lie nestled between baskets of vegetables, tomatoes, cucumbers, and yes, heaps of lettuce. It's everywhere. Curled leaves, upright stalks, even dried ones bound into charms. You shift slightly, and one of the boatmen chuckles. Careful, he says, that one's sacred. Got picked at sunrise. You blink. Sacred lettuce, again? You sit up slowly, rubbing your eyes. The river is silver under the moon, and papyrus reeds sway like curious onlookers. The breeze carries the scent of fish, wet stone, and faintly again of crushed greens. The boat's heading toward a dock lit with fire baskets, and beyond it, you see the looming silhouette of a temple. Huge columns reach toward the stars, each carved with scenes, gods holding up the sky, humans offering lettuce, of course. You're guided off the boat and into the temple complex, feet patting on warm sandstone. The walls here tell stories in a language of pictures, and you trail your fingers across the cool surface as a priest whispers nearby. This is where Min was first honored with lettuce. Not just eaten, but grown in his image. You raise an eyebrow, and he elaborates, each leaf meant to resemble the vigor of life, upright, full of juice, stretching toward the sun. You think, that's a pretty romantic way to describe a vegetable. Still, you can't deny it. The lettuce carvings here are weirdly majestic. You pause in front of one relief showing a procession of women offering lettuce to a colossal statue. One woman is pregnant, another holds a child, another carries a basket of snakes. That part's unclear. Some say the lettuce was male, the priest murmurs, others, female, others still, both. Fertility doesn't need one form. After all, you smile at that. Lettuce as a gender-fluid fertility god. Honestly, it tracks. Inside the temple courtyard, a ritual is already underway. Priests in white robes, their heads shaved, chant in time with the tapping of staffs. A young man, probably newly married, is kneeling. His partner stands beside him, offering a bundle of, yes, lettuce. They're not praying for riches or power, just for a good home, a healthy child. Maybe some rain next season. You feel a pinch in your chest. Something about that quiet hope feels timeless. A small dog runs through the crowd. No one stops it. A child follows, giggling, then trips and lands in a heap near the altar. There's a pause, then laughter, soft and rippling like wind through wheat. You sit down on a nearby stone bench, and your eyes drift to the night sky again. Stars over Thebes, or maybe this is Memphis. You're not sure anymore. Time feels as slippery as the Nile. What would you dream of? You awaken in a marketplace, or maybe you never left the dream. Either way, the world around you is humming softly, but insistently with the rhythm of trade. Vendors call out in a dozen dialects, bartering not just goods, but gossip, hopes, curses, and sweet promises of figs that aren't quite ripe. You walk slowly through the crowd. Your bare feet brush against scattered straw and spilled lentils. Somewhere, a flute winds out a melody like a snake trying to whistle. And you notice something odd. Every third stall is selling lettuce, not just the leafy kind you're used to, but dozens of types. Short-stalked dessert lettuce, red-tipped Nile lettuce, a bitter kind wrapped in date leaves. One stall has preserved heads in jars, floating like eerie green lanterns. Lettuce oil, a vendor calls out to you, wagging a vial the size of your thumb. For fertility, for fevers, for... She leans in with a wink. Ambition, you blink. That's a new one. Ambition. She nods. Serious now. Rub it on your temples before a meeting. You'll speak like a prince. You move on before you get upsold a bottle of ambition and end up giving a TED talk in hieroglyphics. Still, the scent of lettuce follows you, not the clean, crisp smell you know, but darker, earthier, like something that's been pulled out of ancient soil and still remembers the sun. You duck under a cloth canopy, where a pair of old men are arguing over a parchment. From what you can catch, it's about whether lettuce should be stored near grain or garlic. Apparently, one will bless your children, the other will make them grow sideways. They're probably still arguing in the afterlife. Someone mutters beside you, handing you a cup of something green and vaguely fizzy. You sip it. It tastes like ... regret and celery. Not far off, you hear a lecture being shouted from a rooftop by a philosopher in mustard-colored robes. He's holding up a stalk of lettuce like a prophet holds a scroll. This, he declares, is the balance between passion and peace. Between chaos and cultivation. A teenager heckles him. It's just salad, uncle. The crowd chuckles, but the philosopher doesn't flinch. You laugh, he says, but the gods chose this plant as their messenger. And not for its crunch. There's a murmur of agreement. You realize this city, this culture wasn't just obsessed with lettuce for rituals, it was wrapped around their everyday life. You pass by a school, where children are being quizzed on the parts of a lettuce stalk. Down the road, a matchmaker uses lettuce leaves to predict romantic compatibility. Two leaves are placed in a bowl of wine. If they curl together, the match is good. If they float apart, well, back to your cousin. And of course, there are the legends. You stumble into a shady corner where a storyteller, surrounded by half-asleep listeners. She's painting pictures with her voice soft, melodic, like water over polished stones. And when the thief tried to escape the palace, he ran through the royal garden and slipped on a sacred lettuce leaf. The guards caught him mid-fall. His punishment, 3 days of plucking snails from the temple lettuce beds under the mid-July sun. The children giggle. One of them whispers, "That's how my uncle met his second wife." You blink, you don't ask, and yet, in all this chaos, this symphony of strange uses and meanings, there's a quiet thread. Lettuce is more than food. It's a metaphor, a language, a mirror. It grows fast but bruises easy. It needs water, but too much will drown it. It can thrive in sun or shade, but never in neglect. You remember a phrase from earlier, belief woven into every part of life. You start to understand what that really means, because it wasn't just about offering lettuce to gods, or making ointments from it, or wrapping babies in its leaves for luck. It was about seeing the sacred in something ordinary, turning lunch into legacy, dinner into devotion. As you step out of the market and into the sunlight, you feel the dust cling to your skin, worn and weightless, The city behind you fades into shadow. The path ahead is quieter now, simpler. And on a small altar by the roadside, someone has left a fresh head of lettuce. No note, no offering bowl, just the vegetable, alone and dignified, like a letter placed on the doorstep of history. You pause. You almost want to bow. Instead, you smile and keep walking. And maybe, just maybe, you start to think of all the strange things you take for granted. A cup of coffee, a favorite hoodie, that song you always play before a long drive. What if, in 1,000 years, someone thought those things were sacred? You wonder what stories they'd invent, and how much truth might accidentally sneak into their myths. For you find yourself walking along the edge of a field now. You stare at the flickering flames, and for a moment, that thought clings to your ribs. You deserve peace tonight. She's gone. You blink. The bowl is still warm in your hands, but you're alone now, sitting at the edge of the lettuce field, as the stars finally begin their gentle performance. And that's when it hits you, the final, simple truth that somehow took a whole journey to arrive at. They didn't love lettuce because it was powerful. They loved it because it was gentle. And gentleness, in a hard world, is sacred. A warm breeze brushes your cheek. The leaves rustle like a lullaby. You lie back into the soft earth. The stars above don't rush you. The night doesn't demand anything, not even dreams. Somewhere far away, a flute plays, a river hums, and you think, not for the first time, that you could stay here a little longer. Maybe you're already asleep. Maybe this whole thing was a dream wrapped in a vegetable leaf. But even if it was, you've never felt more rested. Now your breath slows, the stars blur, the air thickens into a hush, nothing moves, except time, and even she is tiptoeing now. The last thing you feel is the weight of your own eyelids and the faint green scent of memory. End of script. Sweet dreams.